This 12 Days of Christmas on Robin Minds is brought to you by Noor and Lipton.
It's another beautiful Sunday afternoon. This is Robin Minds. Welcome. My name is Ebuka Obiuchendu. Thanks a lot for joining us. Merry Christmas. Hope you've been enjoying the season so far. We're continuing our Knorr and Lipton Thank You series today and appreciating some of our heroes, people who have done amazing things in the course of 2020. Yes, it's been a very tough year by so many standards. But hey, some of us have been great enough to rise up to the occasion and, put smiles on people's faces. So just fought through it and, done great things in spite of all of the hassles that 2020 has brought to us. Yes, COVID is still around. Be safe out there, guys. A lot of people have said, those who know, say that things are even worse now than they were when we were scared earlier in the year. So if you think it's time to relax, it's definitely not. We need to start 2020, at least go through 2020 much better than we have. 2021, I beg your pardon, than we have with 2020. So please follow all the guidelines and the rules and please stay safe. I'm joined now by Kemi Ezewane, who is a frontline worker. Thank you very much for being here today.
Thank you.
And happy holidays.
Happy holidays.
So I want to talk about your experience because, a lot of you have been celebrated but have been faceless to a lot of us. We just hear frontline workers, medical doctors, health workers have been doing amazing stuff. But it's nice to put a face to, some of these people we hear about. Tell us a bit about your experience through the year and how much of a difference it has made with what used to obtain for you as, as a health worker.
Okay, so when COVID started, I tried to follow up the news because I'm a doctor and I also do some sort of health awareness on social media. So I started looking for volunteer opportunities and everyone thought I was crazy because it didn't make sense to anyone. People died during Ebola and I worked as a doctor as well during Ebola.
Oh, wow.
So I was afraid, but I really honestly just wanted to help. So I signed up to 2 volunteer opportunities and got accepted to the 2. And I eventually went with Etiosa Isolation Center.
So you were in an isolation center right from the start?
From the start. So we had to leave, with the first set of volunteers. So I pretty much had to leave my family, my husband, my 3 little children.
Wow.
They were not even 3 then because I have a set of twins and another little baby. And I went into the isolation center. And I remember the day I packed my bags, I had this thought that, was this the last time I was going to see my children? But then I just had faith, and I went along with it. And we're extensively trained. It wasn't that we're just,
thrown into, yeah.
So we're trained extensively. And the more training, I realized that the more training I got, the more unafraid I became because, fear kind of thrives in the absence of knowledge. So for me, it was just about, going in and just offering the help that I could. And yeah. it was a mix of, it was rewarding. It was a rewarding service because we were there for about 4 months. And
Wait, you were away from your family for 4 months?
Yes, I was. Trust me, it was not the easiest thing. I used to Skype, do video calls with them. And I remember my children would tell me, Mommy, I want to come to your house. I'm like, no, I'm working, you're home.
Don't come here.
Don't come here, you can't come here. But I think the rewarding part was seeing people turn negative and go back home to their families. And of course, there were down moments where we lost some patients. Yeah. There were times where we had breakdowns. There were people that were sick. But eventually, at the end of the 4 months, thankfully, all the volunteers got better, or rather, all the volunteers eventually got home and had to, eventually got reunited with their families. So
I'm sorry, my mind is blown by the fact that you just packed your bags and decided to go do this. Very well done. I'm going to come back to you, but we're joined now by Grace Saba in Niger State from Initiative for Transformative Change and Development, who also did amazing work through the year. Grace, how are you doing?
Hello, I'm doing good. And you?
Very well, thank you. So tell us about, I heard a lot of things you did with women and girls in Niger State. Tell us a bit about it.
Yeah, so the COVID period is a very devastating period for everyone. And more so, it exacerbated the inequalities that women and girls continue to face, especially in a place like Niger State, which is highly patriarchal and conservative. So during this period, there was increase in sexual and gender-based violence, and we mobilized and worked with adolescent girls to share information on sexual and gender-based violence. Aside the work that we did on social media, we used social media to share information with young people, and then we organized a 3-day virtual training for adolescent girls aged 15 to 19 on sexual and gender-based violence. So we had sessions on human rights, on gender and gender-based violence, and also how to seek help when experiencing gender-based violence. Some of the measures put in place by the government, especially lockdown, had huge effect on women and girls, because it means that women and girls are in confinement with their abusers and also have limited or no access to any form of safe shelter or support, especially psychosocial support. So this was an avenue to empower young girls with information, also to know when they're experiencing abuse, because for some people they're in certain situations and they're not even aware of what is happening to them. So it was a good thing, and we trained 15 adolescent girls on sexual and gender-based violence.
Interesting. I mean, like I said, what was the motivation for you to do this? Because I mean, a lot of people were going through a lot of things this year, and there was really most people were not motivated, to help, because people were going through mental, physical, and emotional stress with all of the drama that came with 2020. What was the motivation for you to do this?
Okay, it is the work that we've been doing over the years. We've always had reports and handled cases like this, but within this period, there was a spike. There was an increase in all of these reports, domestic violence and even sexual violence. So it means that we cannot fold our hands and let this continue. So we have to do something to help young girls, because the COVID situation made them more vulnerable, okay? Because of the lockdown, poverty rates also increased, and it means that young girls who are in families that depend on daily earnings are unable to survive or cope. And this led to young girls engaging in transactional sex, to be able to cater for their needs and also their menstrual hygiene needs. So it was important to do this training to empower girls. We also had radio shows, to talk about this, and also talk to parents also to talk to their children, because sometimes there's a huge gap in parent-child communication, and that is why when adolescent girls are going through this type of situation, experiencing any form of violence, they are not able to talk to anyone because they are afraid that they will be blamed and shamed and all of that. So it was also an opportunity for us to talk to parents via radio shows during the COVID period, and also to young people to seek for help when experiencing violence.
Well, I want to talk about the year in general. What looking back, what would you say shocked you the most about 2020? I mean, as a medical personnel, I'm sure a lot of things don't shock you, because you probably have seen, maybe not seen it all, but you've seen a lot of things, and especially with a year like this. But was there a moment that you went through that you said, oh wow, this was probably quite intense for you? And how did you overcome it, if at all?
Okay, I think the most challenging situation for me was during the lockdown, especially when I was living in isolation, because at that time, I think I had been at the center for about 2-3 months, and I was beginning to be really homesick. So I had gotten a call. My son he hit his head on a sharp edge, and he was bleeding. So at that point, I was asking myself, Kemi, you're here.
Your family needs you.
Trying to save lives, and then if something happens to your son. But of course, at that point, because at every point, I eventually went home before the 4 months period was over, but I had to do a test. So at that time, I really couldn't just up and leave. So I really pretty much just talked them through the steps, everything they needed to take until they went to the hospital. And then even getting access to hospitals. The first hospital we went to was on lockdown because they had gotten a COVID case. The second hospital, the same thing. And then we eventually settled for another children's hospital. So I think that was really intense for me. And by the time we had the next therapy session, because they had psychotherapists that we used to come, to talk to us, I just broke down, and I was a mess. And at that point, everyone was like, Kemi, please go home, because this is becoming too much. And I think another highlight of the year was when the lockdown just started, and You know, I was driving and the roads were literally empty. I think at that point, the whole, like I was the only one on, and I was like, is
It
this
hit home
Lagos?
for you.
You know, it was really empty. You know, of course, trust Nigerians. In another 2 weeks, people started getting back on the roads again. But
Yeah.
yeah, that was also
I think that's pretty
wake-up
intense,
call.
because I mean, family is always important, and if you, like you said, like it still blows my mind that you abandoned that and just decided to go help, not abandon, not I mean just put priority on saving lives. Let me put it that way, and I think that's very commendable. Grace, I want to talk to you about we tend to focus a lot on these big cities, the Lagos, Abuja, Port Harcourt, and all of that, but here you are in Niger State doing amazing things. Do you find that the lack of attention, for example, to maybe some of these areas and some of the causes that you pursue makes things difficult for you, and how do you work around that?
Okay, yeah, I understand. We do not have enough visibility as people in places like Lagos and Abuja. I remember when Desmond first contacted me, I had to tell him that I'm in Niger State and I'm not in Lagos, and there is no channels television in Niger State. So we try to do as much as we can, and we utilize social media to create more visibility for our work. So social media is really an important tool that has helped us to create visibility. So we share our work via social media, but of course we are not yet there, but we are working towards getting all the attention that we need, and for the amazing work that we are doing to be out there, so that we can also get more support from individuals.
Yeah, I was going to ask that, talking about support now, considering the fact of the lack of visibility and the kind of year it was, where most people could not even help. Do you get support from individuals, organizations? Does government come in any way to help?
Yes, we get most of our support from individuals and also from international donors. Like during the COVID, for the training that we did, one of our program officers got a grant from Peace First, and it was the funding that was used to organize the training for adolescent girls on sexual and gender-based violence.
Okay.
But at this time, funding is dwindling, and we don't get as much support that we need.
Well, I think that's actually the case for a lot of organizations across Nigeria. For maybe going forward, COVID is still here with us, but the attitude towards it has completely changed from what it was in March, when you said you were driving on the streets and there was nobody and there was fear, almost palpable fear around. Looking at things now, as a health worker, a frontline worker, is there a difference in attitude even from you to how you treat people or deal with the situation, and what should Nigerians be doing in the coming weeks and months?
So I think a lot of people have had COVID.
Yeah, so they've demystified it pretty much.
COVID, But what I always tell people is sometimes think beyond yourself, because you may come in contact with somebody who is old, who is hypertensive, diabetic, or an asthmatic patient, whose immunity may not be as strong as yours to withstand the infection, and the person may die. I've lost patients even just last week, to COVID. And sometimes I wondered, where did this old woman get it? Do you get? Or where did this old man who is here fighting for his life on a ventilator, where did he get it? So the truth is, a lot of people just need to continue to, I know, Nigerians, we just want to boil hot water, drink ginger, garlic, the full
and move
works.
on.
But the truth is, the non-pharmaceutical methods, wearing of face masks, social distancing, washing your hands, hand sanitizers, those are still the proven methods of preventing, because these are respiratory droplets. They move, people talk, and droplets are exchanged. So please, Nigerians, Ebuka, tell them they need to continue to employ these methods, because that is the only way, at least until the vaccine is available to everyone.
How's the vaccine looking? Is it coming?
People are already, my colleagues in the UK are already.
In Nigeria, you're talking with one?
I don't know, I can't say, but hopefully by next year, 2021, hopefully I believe that we'll get to that point where everyone will have access to the vaccine.
Well, thank you very much for all you've done this year. Amazing. You definitely are a hero for what you've done, at least for me and for Knorr and Lipton, and of course to Grace for everything that you've been doing. Thank you very much to all our heroes. Now, we did ask you on social media and of course on the streets what you guys thought about 2020 and who your heroes have been this year. Let's take a look.